Hi everyone, welcome to a Read It or Unhaul It challenge. I have 9 books that I personally selected from my library that I really want to read and I just don't know which one to start with. So I've decided, since I can't select any of my books that I like to read and want to read, a random selected spinner, and it would pick 3 books. I will read it, and that way I would know if I like it, I'll continue with the book. If I don't, I can just simply unhaul it. So that way it's not collecting dust on my shelf for nothing. So this is all the books I've selected. It's 9 books and we'll get to see which one it is. I got the app opened, and before we even start, this is actually going to help me a lot with picking the books and being able to go, okay, I'm going to read that and see what happens. So I got my spinner here, and let's see which books it will be so I don't have to think which one would be the one I should read next. Let's start. Let's see. Which one will it be? And it is... Ooh. The Island Villa. So this is the book, and honestly, I was gifted this technically. Like, I found this and my friend was like, you should have this, it's good for you, you will like it, it's grey space. So I was like, okay, I'm not a huge fan of romance, I'm not against it, it's just I see a lot of the common tropes and it doesn't really pull in a very interesting story. But a friend of mine was like, you're gonna love this, so that's why I got this book, so I'm excited. Let's talk about The Island Villa. I had to DNF this book entirely. I just cannot stand reading this. And I give it a 2 out of 5 if I had to rate it. It's just not worth reading for me. I can acknowledge that this is definitely not a specific genre I would particularly enjoy. One of the reasons why I gave it a 2 is because I like to acknowledge that the author herself has really good writing, and that is something I can truly appreciate. And the concept sounds really good, like the blurb sounds really great, but the minute you read this book, like actually read the chapters, it does not match with what the blurb is saying. The closest that I can tell you right now, the blurb is that the mum is having a 4th wedding and she invited the kids. That is as far as I can tell you. I just DNF'd it because I was so confused. It didn't make sense with the characters and what they're doing. And also, and I cannot stress this enough, it's the structure that the book follows and chooses to follow, because there's a moment where one of the main characters received an invitation to a wedding. As she was reading the invitation, she commented on the invitation as a whole. And I'm like, okay, can we just read the entire invitation first and then you can comment on it? Because I found it so frustrating because I had to read every 2 to 3 paragraphs to know what the invitation entirely are saying. Then go back to read all the comments that she had to make about the letter. I did not like that structure. I think it's a bit bold to go in that direction, and that's when I learned this author's writing style is 100% not for me. I always a believer in second chances when it comes to book, because if one book does not work for you, you never know if they made another book that may work for you. I have friends of mine who didn't like one book and they end up loving another book by the same author, but they still dislike the other one, so you never know. For this, I rather give the author another chance if I happen to come across any of her other works in the future. This is 100% been unhauled. So that's book 1. Let's see what book 2 is. Let's see what happens. Ooh. It is Outcast by Michelle Paver. So this is the book that it has selected, which is a very interesting one because this is about rebellion apparently, and I wasn't sure at first, so that's why I got this book. We'll see how that goes. I'm very interested to see where this book is going to take me. So I've read Outcast. Now this is something I am quite speechless to say because I spent a lot of reading on this. I read up to 100 pages and I had to stop. This is the one book I can say out of this entire video, out of all the 3 books, this is the book I'm definitely going to keep. So I was misinformed and I found that this is actually book 4. But upon reading this, I actually liked where the story was going. The author wrote really well. This is definitely children's fiction. I come to realize that as I read this, I like the way this author writes. It's really, really crafted with such creativity to the point that I did not even realize until I got to page 100 and I went, oh damn, this is actually really interesting. I told my partner about this book and they said that this is sounding really interesting in summary, of course. So I am keeping this book until I find book 1 and start to read that up until book 3 to see if I want to continue with the series. I'm going to start with book 1 personally and see if it goes from there. And if it goes in a way that I don't like, then I will have to figure out what to do because I actually enjoyed book 4. This follows Torlek, who is being outcasted as a soul eater, and he's been going around to try to be part of a clan, but they keep outcasting him and he's trying to prove that he's not an evil person. Because in this world, if you are a soul eater, you're considered a very evil person. And I thought this is really brilliant. And you're going to remember, this is children's fiction. I thought this was really brilliant. I'm going to continue reading this. And at some point in the future, I will update you guys once I read book 1. Now, on to the last one. What book will it be? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Chai Time at Cinnamon Gardens. So this is the book that it has selected. This is the third book for this video. And what I found interesting about this one is that apparently they claimed it's cozy fantasy. I'm not entirely sure. But they said this is like about a garden. It's about some interesting things going on, some forces unseen until, revealed kind of moments. And they said this is just very cozy because I like tea as well. So they thought I would enjoy this. So I'm interested to read this and see where it goes. I just want to say that this book has such interesting ideas and I can see where this author was going with it. It felt dry at times for me because I was like, I understand what's going on. I felt like it didn't want me to be emotionally invested. And after reading this for a while, I've read up to page 20 to 30, roughly somewhere there. And I just thought to myself, it's not giving me an emotional connection to the story or some sort of depthness that I could actually go, this is really pulling me in. In fact, the book is giving me the distant kind of moment, like the cold shoulder. It's like, you're going to have to be at a distance. Giving me a similar feeling to The Familiar, which I've read that book and I DNF'd it because it was just overwhelming of pieces of information. And it's specifically on the world building when it doesn't have a lot of character building. This one just lacks emotional building and that's why it felt dry to me. It felt like there was no emotional connection and pulling into the story itself. The rating I'll give this book, unfortunately, I'll give it a 0 out of 10. I just cannot get into it. And I found it really, really hard and stressing at times because I really wanted to get into the book. However, I will acknowledge that the writing style is very good. The author knows how to write very cohesive and give a really good description and details to things that is worth noting. However, it just doesn't have that emotional depthness to the story itself, which felt very flat to me. I looked at the reviews of this book because I thought maybe I'm missing something, and it turns out a lot of people felt the same thing as I felt, where they felt like it was emotionally flat, but the ideas itself is really, really good. So it's good to know that I'm not the only one who felt this way, and unfortunately it is really sad to see it go. I'm unhauling these 2 books and I'm keeping Outcast, so that's a good thing for me. I can't wait to see the progress of Outcast, and I will update you in a future video when that happens. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!